What's up guys, Jared here. Thanks for clicking the video. We had Seth drive down from Great Falls to film some follow-up videos from Break the Silence. Really appreciate all you guys that have watched it, and we wanted to answer some questions that you guys might have. Obviously there was no talking in it. So this video is going to feature a little comparing and contrasting between Seth and his normal hunting rifle and my hunting rifle that he used for this hunt. We really wanted to test out the Sierra 142 MKXs on a deer and see how they performed. And thankfully Seth was willing to use my rifle for it. So let's jump into the video. And again, this is for you guys just to make some considerations when you guys are speccing out the build for your custom rifle.
Hey guys, Seth McAnally here. I'm the hunter from the film Break the Silence. We're here to talk today about some of the gear that we used in the film. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of details in the film since there wasn't very much talking, which a lot of you seem to enjoy. And I enjoy it as well because sometimes I don't like talking. But we're here today to talk about these rifles. We have the rifle that's in front of me here. This is the rifle that we used during the hunt. And this rifle behind is the rifle that I would normally use for hunting. The reason we used this rifle is it was chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, and we wanted to do a little testing with the Sierra 142 MKX bullet. It did end up performing very well. So let's go over some of the similarities and the differences between these two rifles. So we'll start back here in the stock area. This stock here is the Macmillan Mountain Tracker. It has a 1-inch decelerator pad, which I like. Anytime you are talking about precision shooting, there are surfaces that you want to try to avoid, like the forefront of the stock. You wouldn't want to put that on a rock, a hard surface. You don't want two hard surfaces touching. So if I can give myself a little bit of cushion between the shooter and the rifle, I like to see that. It just kind of breaks up some of that disturbing feelings that you get between two hard surfaces. This rifle behind me has the same 1-inch decelerator pad. Something you notice right off the bat is this has a fixed cheek piece, and the rifle in the rear has an adjustable cheek piece. I like adjustable cheek pieces because I can choose the height of rings that I like to use, and I don't really have to worry so much about the height of the comb. And this is what we'd call the comb, is this part right back here. And I also have, a wife she's a very small person, and I have children. And so if I was to ever have anybody shoot this rifle other than me, I could customize the cheek piece height to the individual shooting the rifle. So it's something I like to see. It does add a little bit of weight to a rifle, but when configuring a rifle, sometimes you have to pick things that are a little bit heavier. Ultra lightweight and everything is not necessarily a good thing, and so that's something that I always take into consideration when putting these rifles together. Another thing you'll notice, we'll move on to the triggers here. This is a Bix & Andy trigger, and then on this, and it's a curved, and this trigger here is a Trigger Tech, and it's a flat trigger. A lot of people don't like flat triggers. I've been using flat triggers for a long time, and it's just something that I train with and I compete with, and so it's something that I like, but it's definitely not for everyone. So when you're thinking about a trigger, I always think about reliability, and I always think about if I can get a flat or a curved face. I obviously didn't have a problem shooting this rifle in the video. That's another reason to train regularly, so you can pick up any rifle. I think that's the sign of a good rifleman, is when you can pick up any rifle and shoot well with it, which is not always the easiest thing to do. The Bix & Andy has a lot of travel, I would say, so you can get a more consistent follow through. That's what I do like about the Bix & Andy. The Trigger Tech has a hard wall, and then there's not a lot of over travel, and it just kind of stops. So you have to be very mindful of your follow through, because if you're falling through with too much pressure, you could disturb the rifle at the back wall there. And so that takes a little bit more intentionality, I guess, with it. They both take intentionality, but just in a different way. So actions. The action on this rifle is a Defiance Ruckus, and that's a full, a short action. It is a, by full, I mean it's just, there's no lightning cuts on it. There's nothing to make the action lighter. It's just a full, about 2-pound action. So it's very sturdy. It's very robust. It feels really good when you're cycling the bolt, and it has a lot of a weight to it. The action on this rifle back here is a Defiance Anti-X, and basically an Anti-X is a lightened ruckus. So it is the same action. This is a XM Plus, which is a intermediate action. So that's in between the short action and the long action. So there is a lot of proprietary things that go with an XM Plus. So you definitely need to think about that before building an XM Plus based rifle. It's really shines in the short action ultra mag calibers like 6.5 PRC, 6.5 SAUM, 7 SAUM, those type of calibers, because you can extend the bullet out further, so you can make use of your powder capacity in the cartridge the most efficient way. But again, it does have some proprietary things to it, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to acquire parts and build a rifle. Bottom metals, this one has a Hawkins bottom metal on it, and I use their Hunter mag. It's a very lightweight system. Sometimes the magazines can get a little heavy for hunting, so I like the Hawkins bottom metal and Hunter mags. They're lightweight. Let's see, the bottom metal on this one is Hawkins as well. And so again, Hawkins makes some of the best bottom metal. I have them on all the rifles that I need to have bottom metal on. I use Hawkins, so they are a very good system, and they always function well, and there's a lot of thought and intentionality that goes into the design of the Hawkins bottom metal as well. Okay, we'll do the scopes last, but barrels. So this is a 24-inch proof research barrel. It's chambered by Short Action Customs. That's a 1 1/8 twist. I like a 24-inch barrel for 6.5 Creedmoor. Anything shorter than that, and I feel like I'm kind of neutering the cartridge a little bit. Some guys will build 22 inches and 20-inch 6.5 Creedmoors, but I feel like you're really losing quite a bit of velocity. We were shooting the 142 Sierra MKXs out of this rifle at about 2750, which is right where you want to be for that bullet weight. For this rifle, this is a 7 SAUM. This is a benchmark 22-inch barrel. A SAUM, has a lot more case capacity, so I can get the bullet going a bit faster. I'm shooting a 175 at 2850 out of a 22-inch. I could probably step on it a little bit more, but I like reliability and consistency over, I'm not a high speed guy, although speed is nice to have. I do like consistency, and you could probably have gotten this rifle going about 50 to 75 feet per second faster as well. But again, it's all at the negative of losing some consistency. And we like consistency as precision shooters. That's what I want, is I want a caliber that I know shoots well and shoots accurately. It's easy to tune, and it's something I've learned and I know how to shoot, because putting a bullet where it needs to go with a 6.5 Creedmoor is way better than shooting a 300 Win Mag and putting it on the rear quarters or wherever it is. And if you could shoot proficiently with a 300 Win Mag, I have no issue with that. It's just make sure that you're proficient with the caliber that you're using, and that you're comfortable and the dope and the ballistics and the wind calls and all that stuff that you need to know to make a good, accurate shot. All right, and then so we'll move on to bipods. So both these guns have bipods that look very similar because they are very similar. I bought this bipod many years ago when the gentleman at Mountain Gear in New Zealand was selling them, and this is the Mountain Gear bipod, and it is a very lightweight bipod, like 5 to 6 ounces, I believe, and it does have a lot of adjustability And this bipod on this rifle is the same bipod, but MDT had purchased the Mountain Gear bipod from a gentleman in New Zealand, and there did some design changes to the hub here, and I'm sure some other things, and I think they're about the same weight and just a little bit more refined machining on the process, and so that makes it a little bit more appealing, I guess, to the eye. And I'm sure there's a little bit of structural integrity that goes into that bipod as well now. So I do like these bipods. Again, they're lightweight, so you have to be a little, I don't want to use the word gentle, but you do need to, you know, not use it as a hammer, let's say. That would probably be a bad thing to do. So, and then on to the end here. I'm just going to move this down here just a little bit. So the suppressor on this rifle is a Ableco Ethereum, and this is a 7-inch suppressor. I don't know what the weight is on it, but it does have good sound attenuation, and I thought the recoil mitigation was pretty good for a can. The can on this rifle is a Thunder Beast 5-inch can. This is just a direct thread unit. This weighs 8 ounces-ish. The sound attenuation, it's a 5-inch can. You can also see that the diameter is much smaller than the diameter on the Ableco. That's where I was willing to take a little compromise and go with a lighter can. You know, hopefully I'm only shooting once, maybe twice at the most. And so I just want enough sound suppression that, you know, I'm not hurting my eardrums too badly, but, you know, I saved some weight. There's a lot of lightweight cans out there in that 6 or 7-inch length now, though, with a little bigger width that probably have a little better sound attenuation. But this thing just it's super small as well, which I like, and I like the shorter barrel. If you can get away with it comfortably, just makes for a easier wielding rifle and packing rifle. It's not the end of the world to have a longer, because again, you can see, I'll line these up here really quick. That difference there is marginal at best. So sometimes you can spend a lot of time agonizing over, you know, how long something is or the weight of a particular item, and it just probably doesn't matter as much. There's some other things that I will go over when we do some other talks about gear for the hunt, that you get pretty wrapped up in size and weight, and it's not always necessarily the most important thing to consume yourself with. You might want to spend a little bit more time preparing physically for the hunt than worrying about, like, you know, 4 ounces in like an inch or two. So that's something I'm trying to do myself now. So, all right, we'll go on to scopes. The scope on this rifle is not the scope that we use during the hunt, but it is the scope currently on this rifle. We're always changing things up and trying new things, so it's not too abnormal to move one scope around or the next to give new things a whirl. But this is the Leica Amplis. It's the 2.5 to 15, and it's in an MTT lightweight rings. And it is a nice looking scope, and I'm sure it has great glass, as most Leica products do. The scope we did use on the hunt was the Night Forest Attacker 4-16, a legendary attacker. I like the glass on that scope. I've not used too many Night Forces in my career shooting rifles, and I didn't have any problem getting behind it. I didn't have any problem with the reticle. It was a good scope. I saw where my shots went, and I was able to make corrections quickly. No issues there, and really I had zero time behind a Night Force, almost zero time behind a Night Force. I think we made a couple shots on the river before we went in just to make sure that I was comfortable with the rifle. And I was able to get behind that scope and the rifle and do what I needed to do when the time came. The scope I use on my hunting rifle is a Vortex LHT 4.5 to 22. And also about the scopes. So the Night Force and the Vortex are first focal plane scopes. That's something that you need to put some time into thinking about. There didn't used to be a lot of first focal plane scopes out there. Now they're everywhere, and people are using them a lot. And there are a lot of advantages to a first focal plane scope. Obviously, when you get down to the lower powers, though, and you're at close range, the crosshairs start to dissipate. So that's the difference between a first focal plane scope and a second focal plane scope. Doesn't matter what magnification level I'm at on a second focal plane scope, the reticle is the same size and delineation as far as how thick the lines are through the whole range of magnification. On a first focal plane scope, the reticle is going to change in size because the subtensions on the reticle are the same at all magnification levels. So if 2/10 is 2/10, whether it's at 4.5 power or 22 power, where on a second focal plane scope, if it had 2/10 subtensions, it would be different levels of mils depending on the level of magnification that you are at. So these are the things you need to think about. Don't just go blindly by a second focal plane or blindly by a first focal plane scope. You need to look at those things and decide what's best for you, what's best for your hunting situation. I like first focal plane scopes because I want to know that the subtensions are accurate at all magnification levels. It's something I use and train with quite a bit, so I'm successful at using those, as are a lot of people, but it's just something that you need to pay attention to when making those decisions. Let's see, both these rifles are bedded. This rifle was bedded by Short Action Customs. I like bedding rifles when I'm hunting. I don't always use bedded rifles in my competitive settings. In a competitive setting, you know, you can treat your rifle a little bit more gingerly. It's not getting banged around as much as it is when I'm hunting. I'm backpack hunting. I have my rifle strapped to my pack. My pack's on and off all the time. It's getting bumped around quite a bit. Bedding just helps lock everything in, keep things consistent, and I know that when I go to make a shot in the field at the time, that things are as good as they can be. So, spend some time, think about whether or not you want to do a mini chassis or you want to have a rifle bedded, but I think bedding is well worth the time and effort that you'll put into having that done. It definitely provides a more consistent product. And that's really, again, what this is all about, is consistency. Find consistent gear that gives you a feeling of confidence, and every time you use it, it's doing what you want it to do. Oftentimes, if you have a rifle doing weird things, it's just not something I want to take in on a backpack hunt. I don't want to be, miles in there and all this time and effort, and all of a sudden my rifle's not shooting right because I didn't source the right components and source the right gunsmith. The gunsmith is, worth its weight in gold. There are a lot of gunsmiths out there that, there's just a lot of gunsmiths out there. You have a lot to choose from. So make sure you find one that is proven, one that will put a good product together, and it's even if they're a little more expensive, it's chump change in the grand scheme of things. Even if it was $1,000 extra to have a better gunsmith build your rifle, which that's an arbitrary number, it's probably not that much more. It's well worth it. So you could have one of these rifles for a very, very long time as a hunting rifle, and it'll serve you well. It's a tool, and that is what it is. Oh, one thing I do like to have on my rifle too is, you probably can't see it, but I'll turn it over here. I like to have a bubble level on my rifle. It's something that, I think is important. I used to think that a bubble level wasn't that important, or I thought that a bubble level is only important like when you hit that 700 to 800 yards. But the more I shoot, the more I realize how important it is out to, even 300, 400, 500 yards. It just is really, really important. When you set up your scope on your rifle, you're setting up the reticle to the fall of gravity. So that way, when you move your elevation turret to make a shot at a little farther distance, the reticle is moving straight up and down. Well, if your rifle is canted one way or the other, the rifle's reticle is actually moving at an angle. And that angle obviously is exponentially steeper at farther distance than it is at closer, but it's still an angle nonetheless. So if I think that, I have a 3-mile-an-hour wind right to left and my rifle's canted 10 degrees, well, if I'm canted into the wind, maybe I don't know if I need to hold any wind, because now I'm canted into the wind and I didn't even know it because my rifle was canted. So I really feel like the bubble level is a great tool to have. Your eye doesn't know wear level is. You can tell yourself that all day long, but that's just not true. So there's many times where I look at my bubble level, I think I'm level, and it's not even close. So that's something I like to have. And also when I'm setting these up, I do want a rifle that is comfortable to me. So if you're thinking about building a rifle, or you have a rifle now that isn't comfortable, you need to spend some time thinking about how to either make that rifle comfortable for you, or if you're thinking about building a new rifle, make sure you get behind some stocks, some equipment, and test it out. See how it feels to you. It's kind of like a pair of shoes. You want to put it on, you want to feel good, and you want it to feel right. If it's too short, too long, and the length of pull, then that's gonna cause you some issues. So be intentional about it. Don't just buy the first pretty thing you see. It's cool to see a pretty rifle. I like pretty rifles too, but the functionality of that rifle is where I really try to focus on when I'm doing this sort of thing. So thanks guys for listening to the similarities and the differences on these rifles. You know, what I want to close with is, this is a 6.5 Creedmoor, this is a 7 SAUM. These are two wildly different cartridges. I have way more time behind a 6.5 Creedmoor. I have a lot of confidence in a 6.5 Creedmoor. 7 SAUM is just as good too. And I guess my whole point of bringing that up is cartridge doesn't matter. You matter, the shooter matters, where you put the bullet matters. Spend some time to focus on comfortability. It's about you. It's about how you interface with that rifle. That's a huge part of it. So I hope that that's what you got out of this. It's not about calibers, and find somebody who can guide you through the gunsmithing process. That's very, very important. Sometimes there's questions, and you need to ask someone who will give you the right answers for you and for your situation. You know, if all you're hunting is, you know, coos, deer, and antelope, you probably don't need a 300 Win Mag. So definitely spend some time to talk to your gunsmith, find a good gunsmith. If you know somebody that's around you that is a precision rifle shooter that has some knowledge in these things, ask them where they get their rifles built. It's a community of people that are always willing to help, and I think if you ask the right questions of the right people, you'll get to the answers that you need a lot faster and a lot more efficiently. So again, thanks guys, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching the Break the Silence. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch that too, and we'll see you guys later.
Well, if you made it all the way through the video, we really appreciate you guys watching. We've got a couple more videos coming. There's a pack dump for everything that Seth used on the hunt, and then we recorded a podcast just to fill in all the details that we didn't answer in the film. So thanks again for watching. Let us know if you guys like it and what type of content you're into. And if you haven't seen it, check out Break the Silence. We'll maybe link it right up over here. Appreciate you guys.